Hey, all you beautiful crafters. I'm back, looking like a hot mess. Anyhow, today we are gonna make one of these. Look at it. It's beautiful. Beautiful. Can't tell me otherwise. You ever make something that you like, it doesn't matter if anybody else likes it or not. You like it, you think it looks good. That's this cup for me. I love it. Absolutely love it. Anyhow, we are going to struggle as I try to teach you how I made this. And this right here, this beautiful little label right here, was done with sublimation on clear vinyl. Now, I will be in a future video going in more detail on how I sublimate on clear vinyl like this. But today, we're just going to be making this awesome cup. So, if you want to learn how to make it, stick around while I struggle with a voiceover, because the majority of this video, other than this clip right here, is voiceover, while I struggle with it just a little bit and show you how to make this. I'm going to start out by prepping my tumbler. 120 grit sandpaper, a little soap, and some water. And we're going to scuff up the whole outside surface of this tumbler. Along with my skinny tumbler that I'm going to use, I also have my hot glue gun, a few extra pieces of hot glue sticks. This is mica powder. It is a pearlescent with a little bit of a gold tint to it. I bought it off of Amazon, and I will try to link it down below. I also have flat white spray paint. I like to use the Rust-Oleum. It usually sprays the easiest, and in my opinion gives the smoothest and most even coverage of all the spray paints that I've tried to use. And now you'll see both prep tumblers right here, and one is for the video that we're making today, the black flame candle, and the other is for a future video. It's been a minute since I've used my hot glue gun, so I'm waiting for it to heat up, and I'm trying to purge any old, possibly burnt glue out, making sure it's all good. And I'm going to start maybe about a centimeter or two from the rim of the cup, and I'm going to start blobbing, and I mean blobbing. I know that's a weird word, but I'm going to start blobbing glue on the rim and hoping that it's going to ooze, for lack of a better word, down the cup. I'm having issues because this is the first time I've used hot glue on a cup. I'm having issues with the stringiness of the glue. But later on, I kind of overcome that stringiness. I learned how to bypass it and to also get rid of it. So just hang in there. You'll get it figured out. So I'm going to go completely around the rim of the cup with the hot glue, dabbing very large blobs of hot glue, to the point sometimes pulling the trigger twice to give a substantial amount of glue. So I'm going to go all the way around and hope that it runs down the side of the cup to imitate melting wax of a candle. Now I am going to pop in occasionally and let you know what I'm doing, update you maybe, give you some helpful hints, that kind of stuff. But for right now, to kind of get the gist of what's going on and to keep this video from being super long, I am going to speed up some of the clips. Now here's also a reminder, I am not a professional YouTuber. I have not been doing this for very long. I don't do this very often. But I do like to do this to give helpful hints and let everyone see my side of how I do things. And if I'm going to make these cups, why not go ahead and film it and put it out there for everybody to see. See mistakes, see me mess up, see me conquer, see me whatever I do. So, no, sometimes I may go out of frame, but I do try to keep myself in frame as often and as much as possible. So, with all this being said, we're going to speed up this video and I will pop back in shortly.
Only good vibes in my book. Yeah. All we wanna do is have a good time. I'm really loving the vibes. Feeling so free and alive when I'm outside. And if you want to rewind, this is summertime. To the beach, you can meet me there. Tell me when you get there. Texting this boy with the long hair. Yeah, sky so pretty as the sun sets. Tell me what we're about to do next. No one is ready to go home yet. Yeah. All we wanna do is
Explaining how I've gotten rid of the majority of the stringiness from the glue is the hardest thing I've tried to figure out how to do. So if you watch carefully in these clips, you'll see some of those strings hanging off, and you'll notice I bring the tip of the gun back up to the top where I started with the glue and allow the string to merge into that blob, so to speak. And then I bring it back down, and usually by the time that I do that zigzag motion from the bottom to the top back down to the bottom, the string is pretty much gone. And then later on, when we use our heat gun or torch or whatnot on these, you'll notice that the majority of those wispy strings kind of disintegrate. They just melt. You just don't even see them anymore. So take your time. You got this. So I got my first layer of hot glue drips on the cup. And now I'm going to take a torch and I'm going to heat up some of that hot glue in hopes that it will drip a little further down on the cup. I'm going to do 2 to 3 layers of hot glue to imitate a candle that has been burned multiple times and has dripped multiple times. Now, warning. Being that you are using a torch, you may find some areas of the glue scorch and burn, but you will be covering the glue drips up with spray paint, so no one's going to be able to see that. Now, you could use a heat gun, but I decided against using a heat gun and going for the torch, even knowing that I could scorch and burn, because the heat gun, with the pressure of the air and the heat, I was afraid the glue would spread side to side, more like a splatter fashion, instead of warming up and dripping further down. I hope that makes sense.
Text, no response, are you still up? Still thinking of us? Can we make up? It's forget all the bad things that went on between us. Those times were better. We know we were better. I know that we're a mess, but all I want is you. Hanging on your front porch, arguing about who looked who more.
Alright, so here I'm going to show you where I scorched the glue just a little bit. I have put an extra layer of glue, so now there are 2 glue drip layers. This took so many glue sticks. I'm going to say probably about 5 to 6 glue sticks. And unfortunately, I wasn't paying any attention, and I took this layer of the glue too far up to the rim. So I did take my little cutting tool thing right there, my craft knife, that's what it is, it's a craft knife. I did take it and score it just a little bit, about 1 centimeter or 2 below the rim, and I'm going to fold those pieces down. I'm going to either remove them or I'm going to fold them down and try to melt them into the rest of the glue. That way I have enough room between my hot glue drips and the rim of the cup for epoxy to adhere to the rim of the cup and completely seal it. So just keep that in mind when you do your drips. Try to give enough room between the lip of the cup and where you start your drips or you do your drips in order for epoxy to help seal. Goodness, that was pretty hard on me to watch. I'm out of frame a lot, but look at the wonderful drips. And I went ahead and did a complete coat of spray paint over this. So now I have mixed up my epoxy, even parts, and I mixed up way too much, and you will see that I will use the rest of it in a silicone mold. But I have mixed up the epoxy, and now I'm going to be adding in the mica. And this is magical gold, so it is a pearlescent with a tint of gold in it. And this hopefully will give the antiqued look, like an old antique yellow candle. So, and listen, I couldn't find my stir stick, so I'm using a paintbrush. Don't judge. Use what you got, right? So let's see how it turns out.
Round your finger, dizzy from being spun, hung on every word.
Very thorough stirring going on there, but you do not want any kind of chunky mica going on in there. And I decided after trying to cover up some of those drips with the epoxy, it just was not enough gold. So here I am stirring again. And there is the color I was looking for. Now, it's important to know that there are a lot of uneven spaces with these drips. So it's important to try to get as much epoxy in between those crevices as you possibly can. So rub your fingers across, up, down, side to side. I don't know. Just get the epoxy in there. Cover those drips the best that you can. Let it rotate. I let mine go for about 12 hours before I come back and checked it, and we will move on to the next step here in just a moment. Oh, and as I said, I had a lot of epoxy left over, so I'm just going to use this cute little mermaid tail, fishtail mold. I'm putting a little bit of mica in the bottom of it, painting it in with a dry paintbrush, and then going to pour the rest of the epoxy in on top of it. We're going to let it sit until the cup is done.
And we just need one restart. Just tell me you love me, tell me you love me. Forever has never been enough. Just tell me you love me, tell me you love me. Forever never been enough. So this is my phone,
So using Silhouette Studio, this is what I use when I print any of my sublimation prints. But using Silhouette Studio, I created this label. And now I'm going to use my heat press, and I'm going to press it on this clear Oracle 651 vinyl. Now, this is going to create, see, Oracle 651. Anyhow, this is going to create an image similar to a clear water slide. However, water slide can be quite temperamental. It can crack, it can break, it can tear. I find that using clear vinyl and sublimation prints is a heck of a lot easier. And the clear vinyl, you can stretch it, you can move it, you can place it, pull it up. It's just not quite as temperamental. I do like to cut my decals quite close to the image. This image is probably about 3 inches round, I think. And I just want to eliminate any of the extra clear from the outside of it to help it lay down smoother and easier. When I place this on a cup, you can't even tell that I don't have epoxy over it. You cannot see any of the edges or anything else. This works a lot like the clear cast that people are using here lately. And in the next video that I'm doing, I do a wrap of sorts, and it turns out fantastic. For me, doing sublimation and doing epoxy, this works like clear cast for me, and I absolutely love it. There is no running of the sublimation ink. I love it. So, highly recommend sublimating on clear vinyl.
Chasing stars, you live in the moment, carried away from who you are.
And now I'm going to add my final layer of epoxy. Look how good that decal looks. And this will allow you to see with the final layer of epoxy how the ink doesn't run, how well the decal holds up. And again, this is my final layer of epoxy. Just going to make sure everything's covered up, everything's sealed really good, and let it spin for about 24 hours. Then I'm going to let it take it off, let it sit for about 3 days to completely cure, and then I will clean up the rim and I will show you the finished product. I'm so happy with how this cup turned out. You cannot see the sublimated piece of vinyl underneath the epoxy. The drips turned out fantastic. This cup can probably be finished in a full 1 to 2 days, because while it looks intricate, it's really not. I do hope that you made it to the end of this video and you found some kind of enjoyment out of me being boring and out of frame and whatnot else. If you made it to the end of the video, thank you for sticking around. Consider hitting that subscribe button, hit the like button, come back and enjoy more as I progress on my road of YouTube. Maybe learn how to do this a little better. Bye, y'all.